Hi everyone, welcome to Cloud Ranger's Microsoft Azure Discovery Series. I'm Sean Ismail, and today we are going to talk about Azure's PowerShell module AZ or AZ, however you pronounce it. It's an interesting module that Microsoft is coming up with, and it's got breaking changes, and I'll explain in a bit what that means. But this is going to change how you work with Azure's PowerShell. Okay, and this is something right now, it's October 2018. Microsoft is not really talking a lot about it, and the way I found this was through a friend's Twitter post where he discovered this, and I found it very interesting, and I want to show you this and demonstrate this technology to you and what it can do. So let's get started. So if you go to Azure PowerShell's GitHub page, as you know that Microsoft has all this information in the GitHub. It's a little hard to find this information, but if you go to the GitHub URL and you go to the documentation over here, somewhere in here, there is announcing AZ module. That's the only place I could find information about this. And Microsoft talks a little bit about what this module is, why they did come up with this module, the timelines of when this is going public, and stuff like that. Okay, so what I want to show today is one, how to, get started with this module, and two, what it can do, and three, how there will be breaking changes when this module goes live, means the PowerShell, scripts you have written or the commandlets you have been using is not going to really work any longer after a certain time. It's going to work, but it's not going to be supported. So what Microsoft did coming up with this AZ module is trying to make the PowerShell that you traditionally run on your Windows environment. And as you know, there is now PowerShell Core. So Microsoft wanted to bring this together and keep them in parity. So I mean, in par with each other. So what it did was it said that okay, rather than having commandlets that we are going to have on the regular PowerShell and PowerShell Core and supporting them both, we are going to just have one, which is going to combine these two and is going to support. Doesn't matter if you're writing this in a Windows environment or you're writing this in PowerShell Core, right? Like the current version that's out there right now is PowerShell 5.1. So it means there is a set of commandlets that are created and supported there, and there's a set of commandlet in PowerShell core. So they're going to be in par. So that's the reason the AZ module came up. And from a timeline perspective, I do want to let you know that August 2018 is when the initial release came out of this, and AZ and Azure RM, which is the current PowerShell modules that you have in PowerShell 5.1, by November 2018, they'll be similar. So everything that you have in Azure RM for PowerShell, you'll have it in the AZ module as well. And Azure RM is going to be the last version with all the updates will come up in December 2018. After that, Microsoft is really not going to, I mean, you can still run it and write scripts, but the newer features or updates will not come in Azure RM. So basically what I'm trying to say here to simplify things is you want to get started with the AZ module because that's where things are going to go, and Microsoft is going to start supporting that only going forward. So let me show you how to get started with this. So obviously you need to have, your Windows PowerShell. Let's run it as an administrator. So for preparation for this demonstration, what I did is I removed any Azure PowerShell that I had on my system. And the quick way to check if I have any module installed right now for PowerShell or not is get module Azure RM, because that's the one that uses the ARM, and I'll do list available. So technically I should not have anything, means I do not have any PowerShell module installed here. In case you do, what you can do is you can uninstall it first, right? So you can actually use this, and all you have to pipe this to is uninstall module, and technically it will remove any PowerShell modules that you have for Azure on your system. Microsoft says right now you can use the Azure RM module with the AZ module, but they said that's probably not the most healthy way of doing this. Okay, have one or the other. And If you already have scripts that were written in Azure RM, there's a way, and I'm going to demonstrate that how you can still run those scripts using Azure AZ only without having the Azure RM modules installed. Okay, so right now we are totally clean over here. The modules are actually installed in a similar directory on your computer. It will be under C drive, program files, Windows PowerShell under modules. As you can see, I don't have any modules that are installed here for either Azure RM or Azure AZ. Okay, so how do you install the Azure PowerShell AZ module? So the way you do that is very simply install module. I'll use tab, and the name of the module is just going to be AZ. That's it. Takes a little few minutes, and takes a few minutes as usual to install everything. Do I accept everything here? I'll just accept all. You'll start seeing that the modules will start showing up over here very shortly. I think it takes about a couple of minutes to get installed here. So I'll pause the video in between to hurry things up for you. As you can see, it's actually downloading the packages and unzipping them. And while this happens, you can see in the folder, it's actually downloading all the modules over here. So let it complete. Once it's completed, I'll come back. Yeah, it definitely took good 2-3 minutes for the entire installation of all the modules to be downloaded and extracted to complete. But as you can see, when I come back in this folder right now, anything with AZ dot whatever the Azure resources, it has downloaded all the modules it has. So right now, if you want to look at a list of all the modules that are there, so there's a chart over here to show the parity between the Azure RM module and the AZ module. Most of the ones that are already there. But do remember, guys, this just came out and there's a lot of development that's still happening. Only the functional parity will be only completed sometime in November, and I'm hoping Microsoft is going to keep up with everything else. So there may be certain modules that are not yet ready for you over there, but for the most part, what I have noticed, it's there. So the first thing we want to do is add Azure, like this is how you would actually connect to your account from PowerShell, right? Add Azure RM account. Obviously, if I run this right now, it's not going to work because I don't have any ARM modules installed any longer. But just to give everybody a peace of mind here that the learning curve with the AZ module, even though it's changing everything, is not really that high because all you have to do is the existing commandlets that you remember. All you are going to do is remove the Azure RM part and just make it AZ and leave the command the same, and it should work for the most part, right? So in one way, it's very easy to remember. So when I press tab on this, obviously, as you can see, it recognizes that as a commandlet. So let's go ahead and log into my account. And if you're following along, you can definitely do this on your system as well. So the first thing we need to do is take the link over here, go to the browser and paste and go. It's basically going to ask for the code. This is the basic way we always did Azure PowerShell. So nothing should be drastically new for you over here. It's very similar to how we always did things. So I'm already signed in the portal. That's why it basically took everything that it was needed. It comes back and it shows me account, subscription name, ID, tenant ID, and everything else. So everything so far is absolutely similar to Azure ARM PowerShell commands, right? I mean, all we did was change the commandlet to use AZ rather than Azure or Azure RM as the commandlet that we always did. So let's run some commandlets to see what's going on here. So in my Azure portal, as you can see, I already have a resource group here. So typically, what we would have done before is get Azure RM groups. I think that's what it was. So here, like I mentioned, we are going to just do get AZ uh, resource group. Yep. And if we press enter, it should basically show the only resource group that I have. So I keep referring to Azure RM as the commandlet, so you know that it's so easy to remember. These are commandlets, I didn't even look up. These are commandlets I usually or typically always used, and I'm just converting them as I speak um, to the newer way of doing using the AZ module. Okay. So it's very simple, right? I mean, you can try out all the commandlets that you do. Just make sure that you're using this format over here. Now, one important thing that happens is that certain organizations or even for your personal labs or whatever, you probably have a script that is written with the older PowerShell modules as your RM. So here I have a script, similar script where all I'm doing is creating a bunch of virtual machines in a virtual network with some subnets. The script here is not really important. You can be using your scripts or whatever you have written elsewhere. All I want to demonstrate here is that this script is actually or was created using the Azure ARM modules, right? So you can see that I'm creating a virtual network here, and it is new Azure RM virtual network. And we know for a fact that that is not going to work because the PowerShell modules, the old ARM PowerShell modules are no longer there. So if you have a script like this, you can go ahead and start deleting this part, Azure RM Virtual Network, and just make it Azure, new AZ Virtual Network. And for the most part, it should work. You can go ahead and change your entire script to do that. If you don't want to do that, because let's say you have a script which is thousands of lines long, you don't want to take that risk. Microsoft has provided a very unique commandlet here that should help you with the compatibility with Azure RM scripts with the to be run with the AZ module. So the commandlet you want to use here is called enable Azure RM alias. Okay, what this does is right now, once you have entered this commandlet, if you use any old commandlet, it will actually get converted and it will allow you to use the AZ module. So let's say I do get Azure RM resource group, and if I run that, as you noticed before, it did not work because it says that, hey, I don't even recognize this term. But once we use the alias, it's actually working. It's not like it went and downloaded the ARM PowerShell module or anything like that. In the back end, all it is doing is literally taking this module as an alias and saying that I don't need this part and running the commandlet like this. Okay, but this helps quite a bit. Now imagine running this entire script where it was all created with commandlets with the old PowerShell module. It should work with this. And you know what? We are going to try this out right now. So let's see. This script is here. So let's actually go to this location and run this entire script. Okay. So let's see users Sean. It's on my desktop and it is in my Azure AZ folder. Okay, let's do a dir. All right, so I'm going to run this entire script, which was written completely for Azure ARM module, and it should work because we have that enable alias turned on, right? So let's go and run the vnet script. As you can see, it's already started. It went and created my resource group. So if I come over here, it should have created my resource group, and it's probably creating the resources right now. It's giving some warnings about, virtual network the output type will change. That's not a big deal. I know this script is somewhere going to ask for my credentials, so there should be a pop-up that should show up at some point if it hasn't already. Let's see. No, it hasn't already, so it's still running. But the point here is, like I said, not to get carried away with this script here, that it's maintaining an alias, type of concept in the backend to ensure that your current scripts are not completely broken. But after November or by December, you should be writing scripts with this type of commandlets with the AZ module. That's what I was getting at. Okay. So make sure that anything newer you are writing, you're going to do that. Microsoft is just not going to update or support the ARM module from PowerShell's perspective after December 2018. So it's obviously asking my username and password. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. And like I said, this script is not important. If we go back over here, we should see stuff that's already been made. Let's go and see. Yeah, my network interfaces were made. My virtual network should be made. So basically, my script is running, and it's all written in Azure PowerShell old, or I must say the current PowerShell. Okay, so don't be disheartened if something on your script or commandlet that you're looking for is not yet supported. This is very new. Very few people know about this. Has really not made this super public, even though it's available. If you dig in a little bit in GitHub with Azure PowerShell, you can see it's already there. Okay. Um, New features. So do keep coming back to this link to find out more about this as Microsoft increases support for this. Okay. Now, one other commandlet I want to show you is that let's say, like Microsoft said, that installing AZ and Azure RM side by side, as you can see, Microsoft is saying it's discouraged. Microsoft does not want you to use both of them together. But if you really need to, for whatever reason, when like we did this for installing the module, you can do allow clobber. So that way, what will happen is it's going to allow the Azure RM modules and the AZ modules to be there together. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to remember that you can do that. But for the most part, right now, the enable Azure RM alias is your best friend if you are going to use Azure AZ module going forward without anything else. So I'm going to pause here and let this script complete. So I'll come back and, if you are doing this in the lab and you want to go back to your old PowerShell and keep things as normal, how to do that. So I'll show you how to go ahead and uninstall the AZ module going forward here. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we can see that, it's a pretty big script with a lot of things going on. It actually creates three different virtual machines, three different subnets, and the whole shebang, and it's working. I can assure you that it's not going to have a problem. Now, if you are already using the Cloud Shell, if you remember, this is the way you can use the PowerShell or Bash from the portal, or you can go to shell.azure.com. I have obviously over here timed out. The AZ module is already there, installed and working for you. Okay, so you don't have to do anything, to install that there. Microsoft is already supporting that there. So let me get out of the Bash shell over here. I want to go to PowerShell really quick. So after refreshing this, let's come over here. Let's go to PowerShell. By default, it actually goes to Bash. So let's try the PowerShell over here. By the way, if you don't know about this, it's a very unique thing. Just go to shell.azure.com, and if you don't have anything installed on your local computer, you can actually get started right over here. So AZ module is already there. So let's actually find out, if it is there and what do we have there. So the commandlet will be get module. There's no different than looking for a module. I'll put an asterisk over here, and do list available. It should show all the AZ modules that are there. Yep. So it's here. As you can see, the version right now is .2.2. Some of them I think got updated to .2.3. Yeah, it's not even version 1 yet, so it's still in development over here. But as you can see, it's already there. So if I run a commandlet, something like get AZ RM context, I think that was one. Nope, it should be just, yeah, I'm making the same mistake that I'm telling you guys not to make. So get AZ context. There's no Azure RM, so that should work. Yep. So as you can see, it's giving information about my subscription here. I should be able to run get AZ resource group and be able to see all the resource groups I have. So I should have two right now, the one that's running in the back end here and the one that I already had created. So as you can see from the Cloud Shell, Azure's Cloud Shell, it's already supported. Okay, over here you can run the other one too. Let me see if the ARM one was working. I'm assuming the ARM one obviously will work here because yeah. So Microsoft obviously has the side step ones where both of these modules are working, or who knows, maybe they have enabled the alias in the backend. They really do not have the other, the old Azure ARM module installed there any longer. Okay, so let's pause and wait for this script to finish. You'll notice that there'll be no errors there because we enabled the alias. Okay, so I'll be right back. All right, so a few minutes have completed here. The script completed. As you can see, there was no errors. My virtual machines were created and they're running. So this script with the old Azure PowerShell modules kind of worked out. All right, so we know this new PowerShell module thing is working out. And now, once you're done experimenting, if you want to keep using it, obviously you can keep using it unless it comes to a you come to some sort of an intersection where you find out that there's specific module that is not yet developed and you still have to go back to the old PowerShell, then you need to uninstall the Azure AZ module, right? So the way we would uninstall it is like how we basically installed it. So AZ, I'll put an asterisk. Let's do list available. So it should list all the AZ modules that we have. All right. All you have to do is pipe this to uninstall, and it should be uninstall module. That's it. That's all is required to uninstall the AZ module. Once you come to the module folder over here, it takes a few minutes again, and you'll see all this start disappearing. Okay, so that means you're back to square one, how we have started. There's really nothing. I mean, you can see there's some movement over here. It's probably already deleting stuff, but there's no other there's no verbosity to this commandlet, and it will basically just uh, come to the new command prompt once it's ready and it's done its task. Okay, so I hope guys, I mean that's it really. Do keep an eye on this site anyways. It's basically the Azure's PowerShell GitHub, right? So it's easy to remember github.com/Azure/Azure PowerShell. And over there under documentation, you can keep an eye on this and find out what the progress is. All you have to remember is the timeline over here. Okay, don't forget this timeline that when it's going to be fully in parity with Azure RM, and the last version of Azure RM would be December 2018, which is really a couple of months away. So if you work heavily with Azure PowerShell, ensure that you're getting used to this module. All right, guys, thank you for viewing. If you like this video, do a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.